So Halo Infinite has been one of the most hyped up games of the last few years. It's been kind of deemed the return to Halo, the return to the glory days of Halo by some people. And it was a game that I also was very personally excited for. I was looking forward to this game, and even when it came out, I had a load of fun on this. I was playing it every single day with my friends. And for what it's worth, Halo Infinite is a pretty good game. However, there are some major problems, and there's really one major, or I should say two major problems, that are really holding the game back and actually might be the downfall of Halo Infinite. And we're going to take a look at the player counts in today's video, kind of talk about whether or not this game really has a chance to make a comeback. We're going to talk about these ill-fated problems that are really kind of leading the game to its demise, and we're going to talk about 343 themselves and some of the staff members behind it that have basically been deflecting the issues of the game, and kind of just talk about this entire thing, because Halo Infinite is a game that I really rooted for. I was all the way down with this game. I wanted this game to do good. I still want this game to do good, and I do think it has a chance. Now, I'm not here to say, oh, Halo Infinite is dead forever, oh, LOL, they can't make a comeback at this point, because that's just simply not true. There is still time for a comeback, but if they really want to work toward that, if they really want to make this game have a chance again, then there's a lot of work that they need to get done, and there's a lot of things that need to be changed in order to get this game back on the right path, and in order to get this game back to where it was at. So first off, I want to talk about the player counts of Halo Infinite, okay? Because it's not honestly looking too hot for them right now. So I looked up the Steam charts because that's a pretty reliable source of player counts and everything here, and an hour ago, there was about 3,700, 3,800 people playing. In the last 24 hours, they peaked at over 10K players concurrently, with an all-time peak of over 250,000. When you look at their average players, it's been pretty much halving every single month since the game came out, which is a pretty big pace to be losing players. You lose 1 and 2 players every single month at that point. And the numbers are not looking good. The numbers are dwindling for Halo Infinite, and it's getting to that point where you can start to question whether or not this game is dead and whether or not it has really a chance to come back. But I think it does, okay? And the reason that I think it does is because this is still very early on into the life cycle of Halo, and if they made the necessary changes, I think it would be enough to bring players back and get them back on the servers and playing the game. The only problem with that is the right decisions are not being made, and that's the big problem with Halo Infinite is, the issues with the game are glaring. Anyone can see them. The player counts are dwindling. There's not enough new content coming out. There's a lack of communication from the studio. The content in the game has gotten stale because it's been there for literally months at this point. And Halo is just not keeping up with the gaming industry trend of getting new content out constantly, right? You look at games like, I don't know. I mean, let's take a look at the number one competitor for Halo, Call of Duty, right? COD has a new map or something coming out like every month. Or at the bare minimum, they're remaking maps and content that people liked in previous titles and bringing it to the new game and calling it new content. Regardless, there's something semi-new to play pretty consistently, They're adding new modes, or they're adding new maps and all kinds of different things. Or you look at like Fortnite, right? Fortnite has something new going on all the time, whether it's some sort of like in-game concert, or if they've got a new battle pass, or if they've rechanged the map. Recently, Fortnite took building out of the game, and personally, that made the game the most fun that it's been literally since the game came out for me. I've been enjoying my time on it, and it's things like that that keep a game alive today. I feel like people kind of don't realize that sometimes, or they don't really pay attention to that, but that's kind of the trend of the gaming industry now, right? You have people wanting new content all the time because that's what we have come to expect with all the games that we play. You gotta provide something new, pretty consistent to keep players on board, and Halo just has not done that, okay? It's still in Season 1 after months. There hasn't been a new battle pass, I don't believe. There hasn't been any new maps or game modes really introduced to the game. They're not really doing anything to add new content and give people a reason to come back and keep playing the game. So as a result, when people are getting bored of the content that they've already been playing for the last 4 months or whatever now, they're just getting off the game and not getting back on. And that's personally what happened to me. I got bored after a while of playing the same fucking content over and over again, so I just stopped playing the game altogether, and that's probably how it's going to be until there's new content put into the game. Especially since the developers kind of indicated that Halo was going to be a live service game that was going to be getting fresh new updates with all kinds of new content. That's what I was expecting, and that's what a lot of other people were expecting. I thought that Halo was going to catch up and start, adding new stuff to the game, kind of like all these other games do to make it more fresh, and, well, we haven't really gotten that. Instead, all we've really gotten from the Halo studio is just excuses. I mean, that's really the only way to put it. We've gotten excuses from the staff behind 343, which are the people that made this game, right? And it's ridiculous. So about a month ago, I mean, I hate to bring this up. Obviously, you guys know about the situation in Ukraine. Russia invaded. There's a massive war going on there right now. People are dying. It's a very serious situation. I bring it up because, well, not to depress you, but more or less because that was the excuse given by a 343 employee about why they haven't really been fixing their games or keeping anything going, really. And it's a pathetic excuse, but that's what happened. So you guys have previously said in the past you would do better about notifying players of outages, but I have yet to see any real progress on this. Why is it so hard to let players know it's suffering from an outage on Halo support? And then he added a few of the staff members. One of them responded saying, "Hey, my friend, I wasn't aware this was down as I was paying attention to Russia bombing a country of innocent people and going through the emotional response of being a father and thinking about my son growing up in a world of war. I will be following up now on this." So a very passive-aggressive, unnecessary reply from this employee at 343 that basically guilt trips the person asking about an inquiry on the problem, which this is the worst way ever to run a business, I want to say. It's unacceptable from the jump. First and foremost, you're using a real-world tragedy to make excuses for why you can't do your job. Can you imagine if a McDonald's employee didn't show up to work, right? And their boss called and they were like, "Hey, why didn't you show up to flip Big Macs today?" And they say, "Oh, hey, my friend, I wasn't aware that Big Macs weren't getting made today because I was paying attention to Russia bombing a country of innocent people. I was going through that emotional response of being a father and thinking about my son growing up in a world of war." First and foremost, war has literally existed since the beginning of society. Every parent ever has had to, raise their child thinking about the potential of them growing up in a war-torn world. Imagine if the steelmakers in U.S. factories back in the day in World War II were like, "Hey, why aren't you here pressing steels? We got to get these fucking ships together so we can go beat Japan's ass." And he's like, I really wish I could, boss, but I can't come in and fucking hammer steel together because I was having the emotional response of being a father and thinking about my son growing up in a world war. It's just a fucking deflection. That's all it is. It's an excuse, and it's a pitiful excuse at that. It's using the real world suffering and tragedy that people are going through to excuse a first world problem. "Oh, I couldn't help work on this video game because people are dying across the world." Yeah, welcome to the fucking world, buddy. It's unfortunate that it took you however long you've been alive to join the rest of us in realizing that the world sucks sometimes. However, that doesn't excuse why your game is dog shit right now, right? It doesn't excuse why there's problems with what's going on and why you guys aren't communicating it, right? Imagine you were buying like a shirt from Optimus, right? And I don't know, a few days later, you go to the support page on the website and you're in the support chat and you're like, "Hey, I wanted to check up on the order status of my shirt. What's the deal with that?" And then the person responding on our store is like, "Oh, hey, my friend, we weren't aware your shirt hasn't been shipped yet because we were paying attention to Russia bombing a country of innocent people." Simply put, if that response was brought to my attention, that person wouldn't be working as like a Shop Opti or a Optimus support person or anything anymore. I would not have that. So with that, of course, it comes down to, when is this issue going to get fixed, right? We've already gone through the excuse. We've gone through the problem. There's not enough new content. The developers are making excuses. They're not addressing the problems. They're not really communicating anything that needs to be communicated. Where does this game go from here? Well, it's going to take a pretty significant change. I mean, these developers, they can't make excuses like this. This is pitiful, to say the least, and it does nothing to solve the problem. At the end of the day, they're still not communicating enough and the games still have problems, right? So it really all starts when developers aren't on Twitter making excuses and instead they're actually working on the content that this game needs to really come back to life. This game is living through a period of time where it's competing with some of the biggest gaming franchises of all time. Call of Duty, Fortnite, all these different games, right? And these games have perfected the live service, right? They have continued to innovate it and bring new features, and it's kind of become the industry standard, right? Like, if you're putting out a multiplayer game, there better be fresh content. Because if not, guess what? Apex has an update coming out, and they're adding new modes, and they're adding new legends and shit like that to their game, so you better get on top of your game. Oh, but apparently that's not what 343 wants to do. They don't want to add new content to the game. They just kind of want to dick off and then not address it. And it's really sad because this is such a good game. I actually very much so enjoy Halo Infinite, and I think that it has the potential to be a very successful game for a long-term period of time. But it doesn't until 343 gives it that chance, and they're not giving it that chance now. And honestly, it's gotten to the point where it's become a disappointment. I mean, Halo Infinite is starting to become a disappointment to me personally. I mean, I want this game to succeed. I want the player counts to be very lively, but that's just not what's happening right now. And until something is changed, it's not going to change, right? So if any 343 devs end up seeing this video, be more communicative, if that makes sense. Tell us what's going on, release a roadmap that actually makes sense to people, and provide new content to the game, man. Like, this game does not deserve to be going down the path that it's going down because of whatever issue is happening over at this studio. I mean, you guys worked way too hard to put out a good product to let it die like this. That's my personal opinion on it. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubTheOptimus. Make sure to check out Shop Opti down below. We just did a bunch of new merchandise, lots of cool things for you to take a look at. Supports the channel 10,000 times more than a regular ad on YouTube does. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, well, talking about 343 and Halo Infinite, and signing out.